everyone. Today we are continuing our discussion of the types of questions we need to ask before we can start writing. To make our writing more effective, we need to consider our audience and purpose. The two questions that I can ask myself before writing are, who am I writing to? And why am I writing? Asking who am I writing to helps me center my focus on my audience. Who will be reading this piece of writing? What decisions about language do I need to make specifically because of who I am writing to? Your audience will determine things like the formality needed or the level of technicality of your language. And understanding why I'm writing will help me make decisions about tone or the depth of explanation. Let's think about a real-world example. Imagine you want a new cell phone. You need to ask your parents for the money to buy the phone. The first thing you'll probably think about is who to ask. That's audience. Which one of your parents is more easily going to give you the money? Let's say that's your mom. You choose your audience carefully. But since she's the easy one, you also know your purpose is really just to present her with your desire, and she'll probably give it to you. You might only have to say something like, hey mom, you know my cell phone is kind of old now. I'd really like to get a new one. What do you think? And she'd probably say, sure. But let's say your mom isn't home right now and you just have to ask your dad. But he's harder to convince of these things. Considering your audience, your purpose might also be different. He might need some convincing. How would you ask him? Dad, I have a question for you. As you know, a new cell phone just came out. It has some new features that I would really like to have. Because it's more powerful, I would be able to do more schoolwork with it too. If I sell my old cell phone, would you help me come up with the rest of the money to buy the new one? So you can see the audience helped you decide what the purpose was, and both of those determine how exactly you approach the topic of getting a new cell phone. Let's take a look at an example in writing. Which of these emails is better? Here is email 1. And here is email 2. Every time I ask this question to students, they choose email number 2. They say number 2 because it's more formal. Sorry, but that's actually a trick question. The answer is, it depends. Both of these emails could be completely correct. It just depends on who they are written to and why. Although the first email is less formal, it would be completely appropriate to a coworker that you were working with on a project. If you wrote the second email to a coworker you work closely with, they would actually think that was kind of strange because it would be too formal for that situation. The second email is likely written to a client, so it needs that level of formality. Our next steps will be to look at some articles and recognize their audience and purpose, as well as practice writing the same piece directed at different audiences with different purposes in mind. Remember how these two elements of writing will shape your overall piece.